Bookworms. Have you ever read a book that was hyped up a lot in the sense that you're really excited to read it, but then you read it, you enjoy the story, and you're not blown away, and you're struggling to find out why the book was so critically acclaimed to start with? That's what I experienced this read. Let's talk about it. Bookworms, welcome to the Weekend Readers Book Club. Thank you again for joining us. In this episode, we are discussing the Goodreads 2022 winner for Best Mystery and Thriller Novel, and also a nominee for the 2022 Goodreads Best Debut Novel. It is The Maid by Nita Prose. Now, The Maid, you follow the story of Molly. She works at a hotel. She is a cleaner. She absolutely loves her job. However, she ends up being framed for murder as one of the people or rooms that she cleans. She finds a dead body, and people then somewhat try and pin the murder on her. What follows throughout the story is Molly's journey to try and figure out who actually pulled this murder off and why. Now, I've just finished The Maid by Nita Prose, and these are my thoughts about the book. As I said in the intro, while the book was an enjoyable read, I didn't understand the hype going into it, i.e. being voted the best mystery and thriller for last year. Now, The Maid itself, Molly's character is really interesting because it plays on the fact that the maid knows all the secrets with people that live in the hotel all the time, which makes sense to a degree because they're the people that come in, clean the rooms, see all your dirty laundry per se. In addition to that, Molly's character is unique where she is very trustworthy, not worldly, I would say very, I don't want to say simple. She lacks social skills. So that narrative of Molly's character is played throughout this book. She's very trustworthy. She takes everything on face value, and it ties into the story really well in the position that Molly gets herself in, i.e. being framed for murder, and then also trying to work out whom is setting her up and why. Throughout the story itself, you meet a few characters. There is a barman, a cook, a few other maids, and a doorman all in the hotel. So they all have a central place that they sort of congregate. In addition to this, throw in a couple of cops who are trying to investigate the murder, and it makes for, as I said, an interesting story. I found the storyline unique in the sense that I haven't read a novel with this somewhat storyline that plays out in The Maid, so it is unique to that degree. It's good because it's not a rehashed plot, but again, I found myself at the end of it going, okay, I've read it, I enjoyed it, but I wasn't blown away, and I went into this thinking, okay, it's the Goodreads 2022 Best Mystery book, it's going to blow me away, and unfortunately, it didn't. Now, that's no knock on Nita Prose and her story. It's just, I found myself going at the end of it, okay, cool story, let's move on. And I guess it happens from time to time when you read something where your expectations are so high, you're not disheartened, but you're disheartened to a degree because it didn't live up to the hype that you had in your own head about how the book would be. So, I mean, in saying that, The Maid by Nita Prose is a good read. As I said, the story is unique. The main character, Molly, enjoyed her, especially because of, the narrative that she has in relation to her self-confidence and being very unworldly, unworldly travelled, simple. I don't want to use simple, but just very naive on life. And that played into the story itself. So I think if you took that narrative out of the main character, the story would be a lot different. But with that narrative in, it actually flows throughout the whole book. And it is, as I said, an interesting read. But yeah, it just left me wanting more in the sense of, hey, blow me away. Please blow me away. Now, with that being said, the question is, will The Maid by Nita Prose be going onto my bookshelf? The answer is no. This was a library book. I'll return it to the library. I'm not going to go out and purchase it to have on my bookshelf to reread because, unfortunately, while the story was great, as I said, and I don't want to bag Nita Prose and The Maid story itself. The story is good. Unfortunately, just for me, I'm not going to go back and reread it. And at the end of it, I didn't have a lot of enjoyment in the sense that I thought I was going to be. Yes, I did enjoy it, but I thought I was going to be blown away, as I said, and I wasn't. So, unfortunately, The Maid by Nita Prose, you have not made my bookshelf. Now, as one book closes, another book has to open, and it is now time to find out what the next read is for the Weekend Readers Book Club. And Bookworms, I'm excited for the next read. We can confirm that the next read is Armada by Ernest Cline. Now, I should learn my lesson because I went into The Maid with high expectations. I am going in to Armada with extremely high expectations. Ernest Cline, Ready Player One, love the book. The book is a hell of a lot better than the movie. If you haven't read it, I would say, yeah, give it a whirl. But I am intrigued to see how Armada holds up, so I'm really excited. So Armada by Ernest Cline, you are the next read for the Weekend Readers Book Club. So Bookworms, that was my review and discussion of The Maid by Nita Prose, a book that did get awards through the Goodreads Choice Awards for 2022, being Best Mystery and also a nominee for Best Debut Novel. A book I enjoyed, a book that potentially didn't live up to the hype that I had in my own head, as I said, but overall still a book I enjoyed, but just a book I wouldn't go out and reread. But I would say, if you're wanting a crime story in the sense that a whodunit and why, with a limited amount of cast in relation to 6 or 7 people, and a main character that's very naive and will take everything at a grain of salt on face value, this book, give it a whirl. You might enjoy it. Unfortunately, it just wasn't for me. So Bookworms, you can feel free to follow us. We are available on Goodreads and Instagram under Weekend Readers Book Club. Podcast is available on YouTube and podcast providers via The Weekend Readers. Until next time, thank you again for joining us. And Bookworms, happy reading.